Thank you, Asheke and Patricia, for setting the scene for this conversation. And I've seen some of the questions that are also coming through. What alternatives exist universe of investment products to consider, some of which Patricia alluded to. We have the unit trusts. These are the collective investment schemes that are regulated by the Capital Markets Authority. It can take the shape of a money market fund, which is a fixed income fund. It can take the shape of an equity fund. And even for the money market fund, it can take a Kenya shilling angle to it, or it can be denominated in foreign currency. So for instance, at NCBA Investment Bank, we have both Kenya shillings and USD investments and an equity fund. I've seen questions about shares. Now that's an interesting one, especially because of what we've seen in the market. The market is down significantly. And some of the questions that are coming through from our listeners, our participants, is, can we take opportunity? Can we take advantage of what is happening today? So on the face of it, yes, it's a good time to get in, but let's be careful about the objective of buying, and let's be careful about the length of time you hold those investments, so that you then realize funds. We have derivatives with sophisticated, and these are assets that as a derivative that derives its value from shares, and we have those offered on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. You have commodities. Perhaps starting to look at exchange traded funds whose underlying value is from the gold is something for you to consider. There's fixed income securities on the unit trust fund, and these speak to government securities. You've heard about the treasury bills, the treasury bonds. You've heard about commercial paper, which is debt offered by private companies to fund their short-term working capital, usually an alternative to overdrafts that are offered by banks. You've heard about corporate bonds. This is, again, fixed income instruments that are used by companies to mobilize slightly longer term funding. That has these investments that you can actually invest in, buy pieces of as an individual. And then finally, and by no means least, is offshore investments for those of us looking for diversification from a currency perspective. Because again, as Raphael alluded to earlier, is that, you know, the currencies are moving and they're all being shaped by what we're seeing in the economy. And so certainly some currencies may depreciate relative to others or weaken, as the language we normally use. They may weaken or strengthen. And so as an investor, you may want to look at different investments denominated in different currencies so that you can diversify the risks that you're holding in your investments. So in a nutshell, that's the product. However, there's also an interesting angle to this, and Patricia actually alluded to this when she talked about, you know, talking to an investment advisor, and this speaks to the services that are available to you as our customers. And so, if you look at it, you can access portfolio management, and this is really professional portfolio management, where you contract a portfolio manager to literally manage investment decisions around your portfolio within agreed benchmarks. So for instance, it may be you're talking about, I'd like a minimum return of 10%, interactive discussion and and iteration, you can decide on the mix of assets that then speak or can realize that return. There's investment advisory, where this is for the more slightly more savvy investors who understand the entire universe of investments. And they actually talk to a portfolio manager, but they make all the investment decisions on their own. And then finally, there's simply execution. It's a service on its own, where you come to us or to your financial advisors or your stockbrokers or investment bank, and you tell them, look, I would like to buy XYZ. I want to buy a treasury bond. I want to buy shares. Could you execute that for me? So those are the services that also exist for you that would be available. And certainly at NCBA Investment Bank, we'd be willing and very happy to talk to you about these options.